sports fans. Welcome to the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves, just outside Louisville, Kentucky, and back in Maryland, my esteemed and longtime friend, John Webster. What's up, John?
Hey, Gary, what's going on, man? Man, Gary, can I tell you something? Another exciting week of sports. I can't wait to dive in and talk about these subjects, man. It's exciting. Glad to be here. Had another great week, another great weekend. And let me say hi to our good friend and the producer, John Pitt. What's going on, John?
3 words. Dak is back.
Amen. Amen. It's good to see. Anything that makes the rivalry better, man. We love it. We love it.
But are the Cowboys back, though, John? That's the question.
Yeah, we're a little short on time, fellas. Can we keep it moving?
Well, John, I don't even know where. Well, of course, we know where to begin because football season is here. NFL starts up. Man, there is nothing else we can talk about that will top that. I mean, last week we talked about college football. Now we've got the NFL. Everything, we had some great games yesterday. I'm telling you, it felt like that was my birthday gift. My birthday was on Saturday, and then football started on Sunday. It couldn't have gotten any better. But we had some good games. We could talk about Dallas and Tampa Bay, kicking things off. I think that was a really good game for Dallas. As good as it was for Tampa Bay, we knew how it was going to end if Brady had the ball one last time. It ends, almost that same way unless Brady's facing the New York Giants in the Super Bowl. But for Dallas, I don't believe in moral victories, but I do think for Dallas, that was probably the best kind of game they could have because I think they showed they could score. They showed that Dak is back, like John Pitt said. Even they might still have questions on defense, but you still saw a team that was in it to the end. And we didn't see that too much last year from Dallas. Heck, we didn't see that too much the last couple of years from Dallas. What do you think?
Man, I'll tell you something, Gary. And John Pitt, I mean this sincerely. I'm not trying to have tongue in cheek with this. Dallas is going to be a team to be reckoned with this year. They showed a lot last Thursday night. Dak Prescott absolutely had a great game, played well. To give up, 31-28, 31-29, Gary? Was that the final score?
31-29, yeah.
Yeah. So to give up 31 points to a Tampa Bay team that's led by Tom Brady, who seems to be playing like he's 24, not 44, there's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, the passing game was great. Now, they're going to have to work on getting Ezekiel Elliott more involved in that run offense. Keep in mind, though, even though I said that, Tampa Bay has a very good run defense. So the best thing they did was the best thing Dallas did was throw the ball, and they got around. CeeDee Lamb had an unbelievable game. They're wideouts. What is it? CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper. I mean, those are tough wide receivers they got there. So I think Dallas is really going to be a team to be reckoned with in the NFC East. And I tell you something, Gary. The Philadelphia Eagles surprised people yesterday. They may be a team to be reckoned with. They blew out Atlanta at Atlanta. And Jalen Hurts, 28 for 35, 264 yards. That NFC East may not be the NFC least this year. They may have some things coming about it, and you look at another team in the NFC East, the Giants, they lost a tough one yesterday, but they're still going to be a tough team, and they're going to have a game Thursday night against that team right here in our neck of the woods, Gary, the Washington football team. Now that Washington football team yesterday, the sports waves are going crazy today because they're just all on Ron Rivera saying he didn't coach well, they didn't make the right adjustments. Sometimes the better team won, and I think San Diego is the better team yesterday. I mean. There were some things that Washington could have done differently. But, what do you do when on defense, Washington's defense, you allow 14 converted third downs in the first half? What do you do? I mean, if you give up 14 first downs on third downs, you're not going to win too many games. You're really not. Unfortunately, Fitzpatrick got hurt yesterday, so now they're playing Taylor Heineke. I like Heineke myself. I don't wish that Fitzpatrick got hurt. I hope he gets back soon. But Heineke adds another dimension to the Washington football team. He's more mobile. He can get around that backfield. He can make some things happen when things are breaking down. I think it's going to be interesting with him at the quarterback, man. I really do. Hey, but let me ask you this, Gary. What about that blowout with New Orleans? Aaron Rodgers, 38-3? Are you kidding me? Woo!
Yeah, that was probably the biggest shocker for me, you know, especially as a Green Bay follower. And the fact that Jameis Winston didn't have to pass for a whole lot of yards, but had what, 5 touchdowns, something like that?
And how many interceptions, Gary?
What was it, like 0 interceptions?
I think it was 0.
I mean, it was like, you know, all I saw were touchdowns. I didn't see any interceptions on the highlights, but I mean,
and you got to be happy for Jameis Winston. A couple years ago, he was in the 30-30 club, 30 interceptions, 30 touchdowns. And, you know, you just got to be happy that he's getting another chance, and it looks like he's going to make the most of it in New Orleans. You know, you got a good coach there with Sean Payton, and he got to learn from Drew Brees. So yeah, it's tough. I tell you though, Cleveland will never, ever beat Kansas City. Never. Never will they beat them. You're winning 29-20 in the fourth quarter.
Isn't Romeo out there?
Who?
Romeo Crennel, isn't he out there?
Yeah, is Crennel, is he with Cleveland or is he with Kansas City? Which one is he with?
I mean, with Kansas City. I thought, he used to be in Cleveland.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He used to, yeah. And now he's the defensive coordinator, I think, with Kansas City. So, you know, and Patrick Mahomes, flat out one of the best, man. What do you do with somebody like that, you know?
No. Yeah, you know, to your point about the Washington football team, I mean, if you can't get off the field for even half of those first downs they gave up, I mean, you're not going to win a football game.
No.
To me, was inexcusable because we were expecting defense to carry things. We really were. And I mean, man, they couldn't carry a bucket of water with 2 big wooden handles on it. That's how bad it was. In terms of the quarterback situation, everybody, loves Heineke. And I'm just going to say right now, be careful what you wish for, because he does provide a spark, but he hasn't won yet.
Well, everybody loves a backup quarterback, Gary. You know that. The backup's always the love of the town. Yeah.
Well, only Tom Brady, he seems to be the only one that was a backup quarterback that's ever done anything that we can talk about. Clint Longley, let's see. Probably in the supermarket somewhere.
Well, Clint Longley, I don't know about you, but Clint Longley ruined, I said it early in the earlier show, he ruined my Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh yeah, he ruined mine too. But again, the thing with the Washington football team and and the fan base is that you always want to get crazy. You'll go crazy over the next new thing. And again, you have to temper your expectations with this team, because now the New York Giants have a chance to prepare for this guy. Nobody knows what his are yet, because all they've seen him do is just put a spark in. With him having the keys to the offense, now we see what he does, what he can do as a starter. I want to see that before I get on that bandwagon.
Well, they got a tough one Thursday because they need a win. Because if I'm not mistaken, the next game is against Buffalo. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's at Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. So Washington needs a win. I mean, and plus right now you're looking at an NFC where you're already looking up, because Dallas and Philadelphia both Philadelphia's 1-0. Dallas is 0-1. I think Dallas will figure things out this week. And then the Giants and the Washington one of them's going to cancel the other out.
Yeah. But y'all, let's move down a level, if you can call it that, to college football. We had another interesting weekend. I don't even know where to start, but let's start with today's news about USC firing Clay Helton.
Man, I tell you something. And I told you earlier, most of the times when a coach gets fired, the athletic director has things like, Gary Graves did a great job. We wish him and his family nothing but the best. And, he put a lot of work in. Man, this guy pretty much said, well, I gave this guy everything he needed. And it was evident that expectations would not be met this season. That's rough. I mean, on the opening play, I think it was the opening play, the kicker got ejected for targeting. The kicker.
Yeah.
Gary, I said the kicker got ejected for targeting on the opening kickoff, and
I'll offer that in a minute.
But that shows a total lack of discipline right off the bat. And the thing at USC has always been a winning program. You go back to John McKay, you go to John Robinson, you go to Pete Carroll. There's national championships there at USC, and they have a tradition that they want to bring back and win again. I heard an interesting comment from Paul Feinbaum earlier today. The last 3 coaches at USC have all been fired in September. That's during the season. Now, this is also what I'll say too, Gary. It's your right if you want to let somebody go as athletic director. It's your right. But to fire somebody in the middle of the season, most of the time, you're really not going to turn anything around. It's not going to make things that drastically better. It may make it somewhat better, but it's not going to make it drastically better. So we're going to see what's going to happen. I mean, Stanford put it on USC Saturday night. It was rough. It was really rough. And already, 2 games in the season, and you already have your first termination. 2 games in. And I guess
when that kind of thing happens, Joe, when that kind of thing happens this early in the season, 2 things stand out. They've lost the locker room quickly, and he can pick up on that. Fans can pick up on that. Just look at players' body language. Again, I didn't see that game. I was covering Kentucky and Missouri, and just again, it's still news to me. I'm still trying to digest that, and the reason why it's kind of shocking to me because Tyson Helton is down at Western Kentucky. They lost to Army over the weekend, but that team is putting up like 550 yards a game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they might not have the same level of talent as USC, but they're making it exciting. When you're at USC. We've had this discussion too about football and basketball. You're in LA. I'm telling you, man, you could just like dip a ladle in the talent pool, and even if you get the bottom of the pot, man, you should be able to win. Both of those programs, USC and UCLA, should be able to win. But it has been kind of up and down, hot and cold over pretty much the last decade. I mean, when was the last great glory period for USC? Was Matt Leinart, right? I guess he was probably the last Heisman Trophy winner. And that seems like so long ago. I mean, that's almost like Vince Young in Texas. Texas is another story too.
Yeah.
But when a school fires a coach 2 games in or early in the season, it's apparent that the locker room is gone. And I don't know if an interim coach can really lift up the morale or whatever, but that remains to be seen. I'm not surprised now, but I'm still surprised at the quick hook that you bring in these coaches with all this notoriety and all these expectations. And really, you don't have to do a whole lot. Just win a couple of games at USC or UCLA, win a couple of notable games. And I think maybe that's the big thing.
Let me ask you a question, Gary. Let's flip it around. Let me ask you a question this time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the athletic director got concerned because that school across the street called UCLA started off fast and they beat LSU. Do you think that played a factor into Clay Helton
Without a
getting
doubt.
fired?
Without a doubt.
And that's a rough one, man. And you know, old Chip Kelly sitting over there at UCLA, and he's going to get things done, I think, over there. It's just, like I said, it's unfortunate somebody gets fired 2 games in. Clay Helton had been there 8 years as a head coach. We'll see what happens with him. I wish him nothing but the best. But, man, I tell you, 2 games in, Gary, that's scary, man. That is scary. Now, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you want to see get that job?
You know, there was a part of me that used to say like a Willie Taggart or a Charlie Strong, but you know, both of them are. I mean, of course, both of them have jobs now, so it really doesn't matter. That's a tough one, John.
Can I tell you, while you're thinking, can I tell you who's crying in their pillow right now?
Scott Frost. No.
No.
Who?
Urban Meyer. Because Urban Meyer is going to be similar to like a Lou Holtz or Bobby Petrino. They can coach college football or Steve Spurrier, but they can't coach pro. And this USC job would be right in his hot spot, in a good spot for him to coach. It would be a great position for him to coach USC. A great position for him. Unbelievable position for him.
Yeah, you know, that surprised me, John. That's a good answer, because I'm thinking about somebody in the college ranks who, you know, might be kind of on the out somewhere, you know, kind of on thin ice. You know, we were going to talk about some coaches that might be on the hot seat, like at Florida State or something. But you know, Clay Helton basically trumped all of that. It really is going to be interesting to see who they go after for that, because again, with a program like that, you need a knockout name. I'm not saying that Helton wasn't a good hire, but you know, token, I wasn't saying, I'm not going to say that Lane Kiffin what was a bad hire. I mean, Lane Kiffin kind of did himself in with a lot of stuff, but in terms of strategy and recruiting, and that's probably the biggest thing too that leads into that besides losing the locker room, it becomes quite apparent after a couple of games in college football, you don't have the talent. You might not have the talent to compete, and that goes to coaching.
But can you see Urban Meyer being there? Can you imagine? There's no doubt in my mind if he could get out of his deal at Jacksonville, because what's going to happen to Jacksonville this year? He's going to lose more games this year at Jacksonville than he's lost in the last 10 years. It's not, and he's so tightly wound, it's going to affect him in a negative way every week to lose. He's not used to it. And there's already rumblings about he's too hands-on. He doesn't know how to talk to pro players. He thinks he talks to college players. Mm-hmm. I know he's wishing he had stayed in that Fox booth, because this would be his job. This is no doubt in my mind. And it will be a perfect job for him.
Yeah.
Well, there's one other job that I want him to have, but we won't talk about that right now. There's one other perfect job that I would want Urban Meyer to have. But
yeah, well, I mean, his name will probably be bounced around a lot, especially if Jacksonville, you know, wins 2 games, as some people think they will. You know, again,
they're gonna win that many. They're gonna win that many, Gary.
You look in the NFL. I think you can trip into 2 wins. Okay, that's exactly how you do it, unless you're Cleveland. From back in the day, from not too long ago.
Oh, that hurts, Gary. That hurts.
Well, again, that was like Cleveland a couple of years ago when, what was it, 0-16 or whatever it was. Many games they lost over a couple seasons. But yeah, it's like, yeah, you can stumble into 2 games, 2 wins in the season. And I think he'll do that. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make.
Well, we'll see, man. He's got a tough road to go on at Jacksonville. That's going to be tough. But I'll say it. I've said it 2 or 3 times already. I'll say it again. The perfect fit and the perfect coach for USC would be Urban Meyer. This situation totally reminds me of when he went to Ohio State. They were in a stupor. He had to bring them out of a stupor, and he did, and they won a national championship. It's a perfect situation, and he will put them back on the map, and he can match Chip Kelly, because it's all about also with UCLA and USC, it's the marketing component too. It's getting out there and seeing who's going to have more publicity and who's going to get more promotions out there. And Urban Meyer can bring it just like Kelly can bring it at UCLA.
Yeah, yeah. But John, moving over to baseball, where we've got like 3 weeks left in the season, a little over a couple weeks left in the season rather, and we had another no-no by Milwaukee, a combined no-no, a record ninth. That, for me, that reinforces just how much of a force Milwaukee could be in the playoffs. I mean, when you bring Hader in to close a no-hitter, remember him from not too long ago? One of the best out there. You bring him in to close, and you figure that's he's pretty much automatic. And I mean, he finishes off a no-no. That's a team to be reckoned with. In that division, we can talk a lot about the Dodgers and Giants again. I think again that's the Giants division to lose. They just don't seem to be giving any kind of ground. The NFC East, my gosh, the AL East belongs to Tampa Bay. Period. The Yankees are still hanging in there, but that is Tampa Bay's division to lose. I don't think that they're going to do it unless they just stop showing up. But looking ahead to October, I think you look at the Giants, you look at the Brewers, you look at Tampa Bay, just solid from top to bottom. You have to be wary though of whoever gets the wild card. It could be the Reds, could be the San Diego Padres, could be the Dodgers.
It's going to be tough. And I love this time of year, Gary. It's coming down. We got about 20, maybe 15, 20 games still left to play. And it's exciting time. In the American League, I got a special place in my heart for the Houston Astros because of Dusty Baker. I want.
Hey, I love Dusty too. Don't get me wrong.
I want to see them, take out the equation about the garbage cans and the signals and all that kind of stuff. I want to see Dusty do well. Tampa Bay is tough, but I tell you something, Gary. I want to tell you something. I'm not a Yankees fan, but don't ever sleep on the Yankees, man. They will find a way. And if they get into this playoff, and if they get a wild card and they win the wild card, man, they are dangerous. They are very dangerous. And over in that West, as much as I like the Giants, and I've said week in and week out, I'm with the Giants. Those Dodgers are putting together something special right now, man. And Max Scherzer yesterday got his 3,000 strikeout. What else did he do yesterday? He had like a perfect game going for a lot of the game yesterday. I mean, it's a perfect pickup for the Dodgers. The thing that's really sad is looking at San Diego and seeing how far they've slid down. Right now, it's them and Cincinnati for the wild card. I don't think either one of them are going to really make much noise. Either one of them win. I don't think either one of them going to go much further. Milwaukee is really tough. Christian Yelich, Lorenzo Cain, Hader coming out of that bullpen. They're tough. They're very tough. But I still want to stick with my Giants. I hope they can pull it out. Now, on a sad note, on a very sad note, Gary, and we can come back to talking about the rest of the American League races, but on a sad note, my Orioles had difficulty this weekend, Gary. In 3 games, they gave up 44 runs. In 3 games, they gave up 44 runs. Gary, let me tell you how crazy it is. I was coming home Saturday night. I've never listened to this on the radio like this before in my life. This is amazing. I got in the car, and it was the end of the 6th inning, and the Orioles were winning 1-0, and the kid had a no-hitter. The 7th inning took 45 minutes. That's the whole time it took for me to get home. And by the time I got home, at the end of the top of the 7th inning, it was 11-1 Toronto. In 45 minutes, a 45-minute inning, and gave up 11 runs and I think 3 home runs. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. They lost 11-2 in the nightcap of the doubleheader. They lost 11-10 in the first game of the doubleheader. Then yesterday they lost 22-5 or 22-7. 44 runs in 3 games.
Oh my goodness. Well,
but I'm telling you something. I'm still with them, Gary. I'm still with them.
Hey, John, hey, I applaud you for that. Win or lose, good, bad, or indifferent, you hang with them. But I'm just gonna say it's like in Shawshank Redemption. What do they say about hope? Hope can be a dangerous thing. And
look,
the only thing in Baltimore right now, and I love the Orioles too. I mean, that's my other hometown team, but I just don't. I really don't know what kind of hope they have. The farm system, hopefully it turns up something. Hopefully they can convince a free agent, like even a second-tier free agent, to come there and help them. I mean, there's just so much hope, and I just wonder if it's worthless hope, because that team just, I don't know, they just find new ways to lose. I mean, that story there, I could say almost the same thing about the Nationals. I mean, we've seen that happen, especially since they unloaded everybody. But baseball is just such that, if you're one of the have-nots, it is very, very hard to become one of the haves unless you can make a knockout signing on the free agent market or get that bonus baby, draft that bonus baby that can really help your system, like a Bryce Harper or Steven Strasburg. So,
well, Gary,
but hey, keep hope alive. That's all I'm gonna say.
Gary, you keep using the word hope, brother. I'm at prayer. So. I mean,
somewhere somebody is like hearing your prayer and going, "What again?"
It's rough, man. But I'm always an Oriole fan. Will always be an Oriole fan. Rebuilding is rough. It is painful. And the thing I guess that I'm hoping for, the pitching down there in Salisbury and in Bowie and in Tidewater, it's got to turn around. It has to turn around. It can't. Some of these guys got to come up here and be able to get the job done up here in the big leagues, in the big show.
Yeah. But John, we're about to wrap it up here. Let's talk a little bit about the U.S. Open. Joker missed out on a chance for a calendar Grand Slam and to make history with the most Grand Slam titles. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing for him. I mean, I still, speaking of hope, I still have hope for him, just as I do for Serena, that they're going to get that more, because they're still too good, even at their age, to not get one more title. And a lot of it just depends on their health, obviously, at a certain point. But if they just find like their specialty event, that one event. Like, I always feel like Australia is kind of that wild card tournament. It starts the year, it's hardcore. There are so many variables. We're playing down under, the time change, the humidity, that sort of thing. And again, we're only looking at that as maybe about 4 months away. So, hey, give all the credit to Medvedev for winning that. I heard something on the radio today that I thought was kind of interesting to describe the crowd reaction to Medvedev as well as Joker, that, whereas Djokovic used to be the guy everybody wanted to hate, but as it became clear he was going to lose that match, or when I think he was down something like 5-0, and then Medvedev loses a couple of games, has a couple of double faults, and then all of a sudden they start, they're actually cheering for Djokovic. And I thought that was kind of funny. It's kind of like in wrestling, where all of a sudden the heel becomes the darling, and I mean, he kind of seized on that. Medvedev ultimately won, and of course, like Medvedev, he doesn't take losing or winning very well sometimes. I mean, he's kind of like that wrestling heel when he wins.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to Medvedev. I mean, he won a great match that he won. The Joker, He's been so dominant over the years, and he will be back. I think he may have been a little bit, and I'm not trying to make excuses for him, Gary. Maybe on the tired side. He participated in the Olympics. He lost
Yeah,
there.
it's been a long year.
Yeah, it's been long. And then you're playing against Rafael Nadal, who's really, really good as well. So you got some really good guys playing in tennis right now. And, I think Joker will be back. I think he's going to make another run at running a calendar year Grand Slam. And we'll see what's going to happen with him, man. And I enjoy the guy, but the funny thing in tennis that I see sometimes, Gary, the guys as they get older, you say it's like the wrestling heel. Well, the guys as they get older, they start becoming maybe a baby face, and people start to love them. You remember old Jimmy Connors? You remember old Jimmy Connors? And one year he made a run at the U.S. Open. He was like 37, 38 years old, and all of a sudden he was everybody's love. Everybody fell in love with Jimmy Connors. Same people that spoke terrible of him 2 years before. And I think Joker's the same way. He's very intense, does a great job, and I think getting older now, people start to see him more as a lovable figure. Still a very competitive person, but more of a lovable figure.
Yeah, and the thing I think you always have to appreciate about some of these guys, even McEnroe to an extent, is their competitiveness. And I don't know how much of that has to do with just what's in them normally, or just how much of a pressure cooker tennis is. Probably a combination of the two. But instead of, I always say, just like with Brady, as much as folks, either love or hate Tom Brady, you have to appreciate him for what he's doing right now, because every sport needs a dynasty. Every sport needs that era, needs an era of greatness that you can look back on and maybe compare previous eras and look at maybe the evolution of the game, look at the evolution of the player. And I think in tennis in particular, that you start to appreciate their goodness, their greatness rather, as they get older, and hold on to it just a little bit longer.
Agreed. Totally agree.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I'm trying to think. Well, we could talk about the U.S. Open, but I think we're getting that sign that it's probably about time to go. So John, what are you expecting this week anywhere in sports? Talk to me.
Well, I'm expecting tonight a very good competitive game with the Ravens and the Raiders. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Orioles being able to go more than 3 days and not give up 44 runs. That's another thing I'm looking forward to. The Washington football team playing against the New York Giants. That's going to be a very important game for both teams. I'm looking forward to that. And hey, man, by Saturday and by Sunday, the slate is full with college football and NFL football. I'm hoping also the school that I love, everybody knows it, Notre Dame. Hoping they can find a way to beat Purdue, because after Purdue comes Wisconsin, comes Cincinnati, comes Virginia Tech. It's rough. It's rough after this week with Purdue. And if they struggled against Toledo, as I said, they struggled against Toledo, they may struggle against Purdue as well, Gary. We'll see.
Well, yeah, that's that's going to be the big caveat with Notre Dame this year. This week. How they handle that one, because it could be a long year, and you could be dogging a coach even more, which of course will be fun.
Well, we wish Brian Kelly nothing but the best at Notre Dame. We want him to do the best that he can do. It's a fine institution, and it's a fine academic and athletic place for everybody to be. And Coach Kelly will do all he can to have those guys geared up and ready to play on Saturday, Gary.
All right, let's see it happen, because again, college football needs Notre Dame to be good. They can't be fair to Midland.
Absolutely correct, my friend. Absolutely correct.
Well, folks, hey, we appreciate your support as always. Again, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell anybody that'll pay attention about us on the web. We have to thank our man, John Pitt, for making us look good, telling us about lighting angles and making sure, that our heads are centered in the right place in more ways than one. Hey, tune in again next week. Yeah, we'll have plenty to talk about because there's never an end in sports, is there, John?
Hey, man. Enjoy it, Gary. Enjoy yourself, John. Everybody out there, have a safe week and be careful. We'll see you again next week. Take care now.
All right, folks, out.